the O. Hell to the O. Hello. Now listen, if you're going to talk about hard things, first of all, what you need is coffee and whipped cream. Okay? You're welcome. You're fucking welcome. All right, everybody. Good to see your faces. Come on in. Let's have some hard talks today. I can't help it. I can't help it. All right, listen. This is an impromptu live because I had some wonderful questions following the death of a Calgary City police officer, a sergeant, and on New Year's Eve here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And here's what we're going to talk about today. So listen, two things. If you know anybody who wants to join us or somebody who might want to hear this, please tag them. You are free to use this wherever you want to use it. I'll tell you, my name is Dr. Jody Carrington. I'm a clinical psychologist, and I'm joining you today from the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Siksika Nation, Kainai, and Métis Region 3. And everything I'm going to talk about today is the things that I just believe to be true from my experience as a psychologist who has spent a number of years working with first responders and their families. Okay, so first of all, you are absolutely free to use this. If there's anything in here that you think could be useful to anybody. I asked for a number of questions yesterday. I've created a course about this that we're going to talk, I'll talk to you a little bit more about later, called Hello Hero, for first responders and their families, because I would love to serve this community more. I was a civilian member with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police for 2 years, where I worked in their health services department as a student. And what I witnessed there is that there is very little infrastructure to support first responders and their families. And it is, I think, one of the hardest jobs on the planet. Here is why we ask police officers, first responders to show up every single fucking day. Their number one job is to regulate dysregulated people. The primary reason police, fire, prison guards, EMS, anybody gets called to a scene is because they are emotional, because there's a need for somebody to calm somebody the fuck down. Okay? If everything was fine, if nothing was on fire, if nobody was shooting blood out of their carotid, I don't even know what that is, but I watch Grey's Anatomy, then we wouldn't need them. Okay? So there is a group of people who come into this process every day and say, I will serve you when shit goes wrong in your life. That's what I'm here to do. Okay? It reminds me of the quote always. This is my quote of 2020. We are all just here walking each other home. So that's a Ram Dass quote. Some of the most important people who do that, of course, are first responders. This is why I call them heroes. The definition of a hero is doing something with bravery or with courage, which means when you do something every single shift, you can't predict the outcome, which is why it's brave. Not necessarily because you're fighting bad guys and shooting shit, which is rare in the business, but you don't know every day how it's going to end. And there's some pretty heavy shit on the line every time you put on a uniform. Okay. So that's why they're heroes to me. Okay. And even 15, almost 20 years ago, when I worked with the RCMP, there was a piece of my heart that thought, how the fuck did they keep showing up when we treat them poorly? And oftentimes even in training, and then have very little support for their spouses. Because we are all just here walking each other home, you see? And nobody was meant to do this in isolation. But by nature of a culture, sometimes in first responding world, the name of the game is to be fucking tough. Yeah? Which is helpful on scene. You don't want a big bunch of fucking babies crying everywhere. But here's the nature of trauma. if you encode hard things in your brain and don't do anything about them, they will eat you from the inside out. They will eat you from the inside out. Okay? So here's what we're going to talk a little bit about today. First of all, definition of trauma from my perspective is something that any experience that you encode in terror. Had a little bit of a, did you notice that there? Stroke, I'm back. Oh, sucked her back like it was a day old. It's not, it's right out of the thing. Okay. Any experience encoded in terror. So it becomes very difficult for me to identify for any first responder what they will encode in terror, which is why you can't predict or vet cadets or troops or personnel based on their ability to handle trauma, because you can't really predict what's going to fuck somebody up because it's how you encode it. If you feel supported at a scene, even in one of the most difficult scenes on the planet, you will not encode that experience in terror. You will be able to process it. If you don't have anywhere to put that, if even in the most mundane situation, you feel like a piece of shit, you feel like you failed, you felt scared out of goddamn control, something needs to go on with that emotion, okay? Because you will flip your lid, get emotionally dysregulated in the moment, which I need you to be in fight, flight, or freeze in that moment, and then I need you to process. If that does not happen, I'm fine. It's fucking fine. We're fine. You're good? What happened? You good? We're good. We're good? Everybody's good. We're good. You're fine? We're good. Do you know why people say they're fine? Because it's hard to talk about hard things. When you don't have an emotional language to say, I feel shitty. I feel awful. I feel like a fucking failure. I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have been standing there. I wish I could have done this. I wish I could. Okay, I understand. Now tell me where you feel it. What do you mean, where do I fucking feel it? In your body. The body keeps the score. Where do you feel it? That is not a question we ask nearly enough, because here's what happens. You are wired as a first responder to handle any scenario you experience. I promise you that. We are wired to do hard things. If you are a first responder spouse, you are wired to love somebody who does dangerous work. We are wired for it. But we cannot do hard things if we get disconnected. Guess what the name of the game is? Typically, historically, in first responder cultures. Armor. Armor up. Okay, so you see where this is going to become a problem when I ask you to step into situations every single goddamn day that is going to involve emotional dysregulation, and then there's no infrastructure to say, here's what you do with those hard things. And, you know, you can lean on your spouses, but I don't want to fucking traumatize my spouse. I don't want to make it worse for them. I want to protect them. And then they're like, why aren't you talking to me? Why will you tell me what you saw? Tell me what you heard. Tell me what you smelled. No, fuck that. I'm not giving you any of this. And we get disconnected. Okay. So with that in mind, I need to tell you this. I have not met a first responder in my 20 years of doing this stuff who does not have some post-trauma symptoms, which means there is something in their body, okay, that they did not walk home through. Not sometimes, do they all got to PTSD? Fuck. There's such a big scary word about, do you got to PTSD? I got to PTSD. You got to PTSD? Fuck off. When we do not have a place to put hard things, it will mess us up. Full stop. Now, here's what I want to talk about with respect to that, with the death of this hero for one specific experience. Oftentimes when these things happen, we focus on the member, as we should. All due respect, thinking about anybody who loved him. I think about, we talked about Heidi Stevenson in the Nova Scotia shooting. There's been multiple gun incidents and deaths, of course, in 2020 and this year. We often think about the victim, but here's the issue, that if you people, okay, so you guys sent some beautiful questions about this. Why am I so heightened now? I didn't know, Andrew. Why am I so heightened now? I'm a spouse of a firefighter. Why can't I sleep now? Why is this? Okay, so here's the thing. The body keeps the score. The more you can identify with this first responder, who lost his life in the line of duty, the more it's going to fuck you up. Do you understand? The more you can identify. So look at me right now. If you have ever worn a uniform, this will be more difficult for you than somebody probably who hasn't. Volunteer, EMS, fire, police, prison. You are connected because you serve humans in emotionally dysregulated states. If you have ever worn a uniform, you will appreciate what it would have been like to be on the scene that night. You can smell it, you can hear it, you can taste it, you can you can imagine the whites of the eyes of your people who you love. You will experience it as though it happened, okay? If you were on scene for Constable Hattie Stevenson's death, if you were on scene that night, New Year's Eve in Calgary, if you have ever been on a scene where bad shit went down to the people you were there to walk other people home with, it will hurt your heart. So the more you can identify, again, if you're a Calgary City, first of all, if you're a Calgary City police officer, if you were there that night, this will be harder for you than most people. If you are a spouse of a Calgary City police officer, there's no fucking words for this. For you group of people, if you love this hero, the only thing I can say to you is I'm so fucking sorry. I am so sorry. And as we move out from that place, if you've ever served, if you were an EMS attendant that night on scene, I'm so sorry. I acknowledge that that will be likely one of the hardest days of your life. As I'm saying this right now, if you're listening to me, I want you to drop your shoulders. Deep breath. Just do it with me. Don't fucking try to pretend if you're sitting here watching with somebody else that you don't want them to see you drop your shoulders. Just drop your goddamn shoulders. I don't care about anybody else. Drop your shoulders. Okay? Secondly, we often forget about the other people at the scene. So there would have been people who witnessed that event, civilians for sure, but EMS were on scene, ER doc, ER nurse. When it's one of yours who you serve with, you can very much bet that all hands are on deck. If you hear that call, that one of yours, they're your family. They're your family. So you can just well imagine if you're in this town, you hear sirens and you're like, oh, I hope everything's okay. When you understand that that is somebody in your family, guess what? I don't care what you're fucking doing, you're going, okay? The same things apply. This is why people get so invested in wearing the colors, why they get so invested in the uniform, and it's an identity, and it is a unique bond that is very difficult to understand from the outside. I don't. But here's the thing. You can imagine what it must be like to lose one of your own. You can imagine what it must be like. We just don't fucking want to. We say we can't imagine. Yep, you can. Okay, so the more you can identify with the situation, the more it will affect you, because I had beautiful questions from a spouse, that just said, like, I didn't know Andrew. I didn't know his family. Why am I such a mess? Why am I more of a mess than my partner who is a firefighter or a police officer? Why am I more a mess? Oftentimes, if they have somewhere to put it, and I have no idea, I have no comment on whether there was a debriefing. I don't know anything about those things. That's not why I'm here today. But if there is somewhere to put it, which is absolutely necessary, here's what happens to the stress response. When you encode something in terror, whether you're a police officer spouse or somebody on the scene or an EMS, the mom of an EMS, of a paramedic, of EMT, you encode it in terror. The deal is I need to process it after. Here's what was the hardest part. Here's what I wish I would have done better. Here's where I feel like I fucked up. Here's where I can't, there's not even any words for it. I can't, okay, give me those things. The first an important step is simply this idea of holding space. We want to fix it. If you are supporting police officers, first responders in this world, you want them to be okay. You don't want them to hurt. You want to fix it. So we make a massive mistake, particularly in the first 72 hours, of trying to fix it. How about you do this? How about you try this? How about you do this? Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? Zip. Acknowledge. I'm wondering if this might be a hard day. I'm wondering if this might be a hard day for you. That's what I wonder. Okay? That's it. I want you to know I'm here. I want you to know that I can't imagine what this must be like to lose somebody who does the same holy and hard work as you. I see you. I hear it. I'm sorry. The more you can identify, the more it'll affect you. Again, other people have sent questions about, my husband was involved in a shooting incident. My wife was something. Absolutely. I want you to know that that is a normal response to a heightened situation that you can identify with. The more you can identify with a situation. So if you're an RCMP officer posted in BC right now, and this makes you fucking mad, right? Or this makes you sad, or this makes you respond. Completely makes sense to me. Completely makes sense to me. Okay? The other thing that happens is that when we are in this heightened state of response to the people we love, the people we've lost, everybody else's comments, fucked up perspective on this will piss us off so much. There will be media responses to it. There will be people who, will comment on, how the scene should have been ran, what should have happened here. I'm just thinking about Nova Scotia, did the RCMP fuck up? Did this happen? When you are in the middle of this, your lid is flipped, and all of those things will hurt your heart so much more. The hateful statements broadcast about this incident, all of those things will be, here's the issue, is that social beings try to make sense of hard things. They try to get here's the example, here's what happens, here's what's really critical, the closer you are to this incident, to step away from that if you can. Because it will be so difficult to keep that in their place, to put that in their place. But if you can't, if you're inundated by the news or the media, or people are sending you things, all of those kind of things, be very careful about what's happening in your body as you consume that information. Okay, drop your shoulders. I need you to be emotionally regulated first and foremost before you consume that stuff. Do not put that into an already flipped brain. Slow it down. You are on the heels, as a first responder, you're on the heels of a very hard season, particularly if you're a police officer, okay? Also, we're in the middle of a COVID fucking pandemic, which has meant our first responders have been all on the front lines, and they're done anyways, okay? Our biggest job right now is to look for answers or justice, which will be the first thing that we want to do. And you go ahead. I mean, you're the boss of it. You do what you need to do. If we really want to walk people home to the best of our capacities, you show up, you turn on your blue lights, you put a ribbon around your tree, you acknowledge again and again and again. You drop off stuff. You do things. If you know a CPS officer, you reach out to them. If you know a first responder, you send them a note. Just say, I don't know if I tell you this enough. I just want to say thank you. It's times like this. I wish I thought about this more, but it's time like this that I'm reminded every day you go into a situation where you don't know if you're coming home. I don't know if you know how much you matter. If you know a first responder and you have it in your heart to do that today is the day to do that. Believe me. So here's the deal. If you need to acknowledge it first, it will be the hardest thing, particularly if you're married to one. Now they're like one. I'm othering it. If you love one, if you have a kid who's a first responder, Do your very best to not ask dumb questions. Like, are you making sure you're safe? Do you follow the protocol? Are you wearing your vest? Is your CPR up to date? Are you... Shut it! Don't be dumb. Now's not the time. I know you're worried. We got to put that stuff somewhere else, okay? What you want to say is, in this moment, I just want to acknowledge, right? I'm proud of you, Mom. I'm proud of you, Dad. I'm proud of you, son. I don't know if I tell you this enough, husband. I don't know if I tell you this enough, wife. Listen, this also applies. I think I don't know if I told you this, but to volunteer, but also to retired members and or retired police officers, firefighters, wherever it is. The second you hang up a uniform, the thought is the stressor will go away. No! The stress response still lives very big in your body. This will still be very, very, very difficult time, okay? It's normal if it is, by the way. If it isn't for you, good, that's excellent. But if it is, it's normal. Okay, so I just wanted to leave you with a few things, guys. And so you can see every time I talk about this, I get fired up because I love so many first responders and I adore them. And there is so many hard things happening in this space because I think for a very long time, we haven't provided the resources that need to be in place for people to continue to do the work of regulating the emotion of people on this planet. That is the sole job of a police officer, of a paramedic, of a firefighter, is to get emotionally dysregulated scenarios calmed down. And when you step into something that's emotionally dysregulated, right, we need to look after you. I'm not so fucking worried about the bad guys. I'm not so fucking worried about everybody else out there. What are we going to do the best to look after you and the people who hold you? Okay. So just a couple of things I want to leave for you is that if you love a first responder or a police officer, here's some things I want you to know. The list of sort of what to do. God damn it. If there was a list of what to do, first of all, give yourself some grace. You're doing it beautifully because on a Sunday afternoon, you showed up to see if there's something we could do to help our heroes. Because you're amazing, okay? Because you're amazing, all right? But here's a couple of things I want you to think about. The power is in the acknowledgement. There is nothing you can do to fix people's pain. There is nothing, and we want that. We want that for our children. We want that for our spouses. We want to make it better. We want to say something that's better. We want to bring something that can make it better. We want to do those things. We want to do all those things to make it better. You can't. This is worst fucking case scenario. We are just walking each other home. So what do? You show up. You acknowledge. You drop off food. You say his name. You make eye contact. You acknowledge. And when you start to try to fix, when you say, at least, shut your hole. When you say, have you tried? Shut your hole. Not the time. There are times down the road, or sometimes even at the end of a conversation that you can say, here's what I'm thinking. Why don't we do these things? First and foremost, we need to hold space. That becomes critical. If you are leading a detachment through this process, if you are a supervisor in this process, you do not need to offer suggestions on what to do. You don't need to be handing out yoga passes. You need to be bringing food and say, come on, come on, come on, hardest part. Do not try and fix it. Okay, so this is true. If you love a police officer, if you are a supervisor, if you are walking your detachment through this process, hang on to that. Number two, people ask me this all the time. What do I do if they don't want to talk? In the history of your life, have you ever made anybody able to talk? I will tell you this as a psychologist. I cannot make you talk. Tell me how you're feeling. Tell me are you sad? Are you mad? Are you glad? Tell me what are you feeling? Don't be dumb. People say this to me all the time. They don't want to talk about it. No fucking doubt. Hold the space. Hold the space. Okay? Here's what I want to tell you, Dad, is that I know whether you say yes or no or not, you're thinking about Andrew. You're thinking about Heidi. You're thinking about this stuff. That's what I'm going to guess. And I just want you to know that if you want to talk about it, I'm here. I also want you to know this isn't the last time I'm going to ask. If you are a first responder spouse and you don't want to hear it, you don't want to talk about it because this shit is too hard, what can we do to make sure we got somebody who you can do that with? I'm walking you home. Let's do it. Come on, honey. What do we need to do together? I don't know, okay? But I'm not going to stop asking. Make sense? It is not a one-shot deal, okay? People say this to me all the time. I try that. I asked. Nothing, okay? So first of all, let's be really careful about when we ask, not in the middle of a heated response, not when we're like, hey, are you doing okay? People say, Jody said you're not going to be okay. Are you not okay? I want you to be okay. Are you fine? Are you good? Listen, in the beginning, when you were dating a first responder, you thought what they did was cool. And you were engaged in listening and understanding and holding space for. You weren't like, hey, try this, try that. Because you weren't as invested in the beginning, right? Not a big fucking deal. Now, you might own 3 kids with them. Now, they might be your personal baby. Now, you might be all these things where you're like, oh, I'm gonna, here, try this, fix it. I know, because you love them. First responders, if you're watching this is because they love you. They're not relentless son of a bitches who want you to be better in something you're not. No. They want you to be okay. You want to know why? Because you were their hero first. You were their hero first. And if you're not okay, they're not okay. If you're not okay, they're not okay. And they want you to be okay. So in those moments, sometimes you need to say, don't fix it. You can't make this better. Don't fix it. You can't make this better. I just need you to sit with me, or whatever the deal is. Sometimes people can't even say that, but you don't have to. Okay. So if you are in the place of helping a first responder, particularly a police officer in this moment, acknowledge not a one-shot deal. And if you're an officer, again, same things happen. If you're a first responder, one-shot deal for each other's fellow officers, you just acknowledge it. Say his name, eye contact, show up with food, do all of those kind of things. That's the deal. Number 2, if your heart's busted and you don't feel like you deserve it, you don't feel like you had the right for your heart to be busted because you're a volunteer firefighter from fucking Manitoba. You're not the only one feeling that way. Don't assume. This is the problem. We've locked it up way too tight and we've assumed that other people don't respond this way. I fucking promise you, every single person who wears a uniform in any connection to Sergeant Andrew felt it. I promise you. The more you identified, the more it'll hurt your heart. You may not sleep well. You may have trouble eating. You may want to eat more. Your heightened stress response will get the cortisol going in your body. And every other time the cortisol has been going in your body, like previous hard calls, the things that sort of take you back to this moment, you'll be back there. So first of all, get that body back in a place where we can process some of this stuff, okay? So I guess, I know that this was I just don't want to overwhelm you. So we're here already 30 minutes. The other thing that I think, the other questions I got a lot was, how do we talk to our kids when something like this happens, whether they knew Andrew personally, or whether they have a parent who then, now you think, is this shift going to be their last? Here's what you don't do. You don't not talk about it. And again, how you do that is important. It's not like, holy fuck, I'm scared you're going to die. This is so fucking hard. Okay, I understand. Nope. Just say, this makes me think about the sacrifices you make and we make as a family. I just want you to know I see you. I just want you to know I'm proud of you. I just want you to know that if anything ever happened to you, my heart will be broken. And when you name it, you tame it. When you don't say anything, when you assume you're fine, I'm fine, let's not talk about it, it's fine. Okay, but here's what I want you to know, right? If it's too hard, guys, listen to me, this is not uncommon. If it's too hard to look somebody you love in the eye and have this conversation, then you write them a note. Because there are so many first responder families who, I promise you this may surprise some of you, but they have never, ever, ever talked about the what ifs, but they think about it every day. So you can imagine, you think about something every day, but you don't talk about it. What happens? You start to make assumptions that the other guy's fine. You start to make assumptions that we don't talk about it. You start to make assumptions that we're going to be, right? It is not if you're going to talk about it, it's how, it's when. And oftentimes, if you can do it when there's food or coffee or drink involved, you can regulate the emotions better, because I need a prefrontal cortex to talk about hard things. And so, again, I think acknowledging it with our kids and take them for a drive, say, this is an example, okay? So, for example, let's go for a drive, dude. Let's go get a Slurpee. Let's go get a Tim Hortons ice cap. You probably heard on the news, dude, that a police officer was killed. No, I didn't fucking hear that. Okay, well, I just want to tell you that somebody lost their life in the line of duty, and I know sometimes that's a risk for us, for this family. Do you ever worry about that? No, fuck. Okay. Well, sometimes I do. Tell me more. I don't want to talk about it. Okay. If you do, when you do. I worry about it sometimes too. How do you do it is important, but not nearly as important as if. Okay? So, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so glad you joined me tonight. There's a couple of things. It's not even fucking tonight anyway, by the way. It's this afternoon. But there's a couple of things I just want to leave you with. People ask me this again, so this always sounds like I'm selling shit, but I just want to tell you this, that there's an option, because I wish I could do this all afternoon. But I did create a course in the middle of the pandemic called Hello Hero, where I talk more about this in a 5-module thing. There's a little piece for your babies too, if you want to look at that. The other thing that I'd really love you to join us with is Stay Lit. And it's a conference for community members coming up on January 30th, where I'm going to get some people talking about joy and grief and trauma. So that's the deal. The other thing I want to promise to you, my first responder community, is that I will write a book. And whether you want to read it or not, that's okay. But I will write a book as soon as I get this other fucking book done. But here's my commitment in 2021. We will do a conference, a day where I will gather some of the finest in this business to talk about things and create resources for you. That is set for November. Now, I know that's a long ways away, but it's called Hello Hero. And we'll release more shit about that as the year goes on. But know that I think about you, and I hear the need to keep doing more and more and more. And I'm here for it all. So in a wrap up, if you loved Sergeant Andrew, if you knew him, if you served alongside him, I am so sorry. I've heard he was a remarkable human being, and I wish I knew him. There are no fucking words if you were there that night. And I just want you to know that I see you, and I am so grateful that you put on a uniform that night and walked people through probably one of their hardest calls. Thank you for being there. And if you are a first responder or a first responder family anywhere on this planet today, when bad things happen to your family, those of you who share the code of the uniform know that you will be heightened in the days and weeks that follow a critical incident that happens to one of your own. That is normal. And I need you to give yourself and those who you serve with grace. Okay? I see you, and I am so thankful for you. And this will be a humongous part of what I do moving forward, because I just think that it's amazing. Okay, it's amazing what you do, and I don't think we really look after you nearly enough, and that will be my job when I grow up in the days and weeks and years to come in this career of mine. So listen, everybody, thank you so much for jumping on today again. I just want to tell you this. Feel free to share this. Tag anybody who you think might want to listen to it today. I'm happy for you to do that. I wish I could do more for all that you do for us, police officers, firefighters, paramedics, EMS professionals. Thank you. I wish I could do more, but I see you and I am grateful. And look after each other. We're just walking each other home. See you soon, everybody.